Chris coming up there to the civic center?
Yeah.
All right, y'all,
Week from next Monday, Tuesday. Yeah.
we're live, and the mayor's not here, so I'll lead the meeting. We'll start with a prayer and a pledge of allegiance. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for giving us the privilege to work for the citizens of our city. We pray that you'll help us to be diligent about doing that and make those decisions that are pleasing to you. Bless this time together. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
If you'll turn and face the flag. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we call this meeting to order, and we will have a discussion and take action in one way or another on the Red Speed contract. Russell, do you want to begin that?
Yeah, so the question that was raised with the termination provision for the existing agreement between the City of Thomaston and Red Speed said, talking with the city attorney, it's our understanding that to cancel the contract requires 60 days notification prior to the enactment date, which would have been July 10th, which puts the notice of intent having to go out May 10th, which is Monday. So wanted to have a call meeting in the event that the city council wished to terminate the agreement to provide such direction prior to Monday.
Okay.
So there would be no penalty.
Correct. My understanding is that the way I read it, there would be no penalty.
Russell, should we start by maybe just talking again about the program, what precipitated it, what, and kind of where we are now, and then I know Jeff has some.
So my understanding is that the General Assembly or the state legislature has had many iterations of speed enforcement. One particularly that was tied to school zones. Was approached by the chief of police about the program. There's a specific state statute that enables this type of program. I think we met last summer, kind of went over the program. It was instituted, the time parameters and the operational programming. I'll defer to the chief and the major. Maybe they can better explain that. I know that it is time sensitive. While children are in school, the program runs. Citations are, there's no points on your license or anything like that. I think it's a $75 fine. The way the contract's written, there's a proportional split of the revenue between the City of Thomaston and Red Speed. That's how they make their money, I think, off, is it 35% split?
65-35.
35% split. The other remainder of funds come to the city, and they're earmarked for public safety, specifically police activities. So
Who gets
chief,
65, excuse me?
city.
The city gets the 65.
And out of the 35 that goes to Red Speed, they are required to maintain the system, they install the system, they pay for all the equipment and keep up the maintenance on it.
Okay. Doug, if I may, I have a question for the chief, if I will. First of all, I want y'all to understand that I'm all about school safety, okay? I'm all about it. I'm not against safety at the school, what have you. Chief, question for you is, how many accidents have we had within the last 5 years at this school crossing?
That would not be a number I would be prepared to give you, not knowing that that would be asked. I mean,
Do you recall
again, I
any?
could find, but to my knowledge, I know we haven't had any since the program started. We probably haven't had any there in a while.
Okay.
But I know we haven't had any accidents since the program started.
Okay. What makes you want to run a radar in this school zone? What got this all started? Can you explain that to me?
The main thing that started was the complaint from one of the crossing guards, how fast traffic is and it's how unsafe it is. Pastor Greg Smith, for several years, has repeatedly come to us. I remember occasion coming to Russell talking about putting up more signs, or we wanted to put flashing signs on Triangle New Road. We wanted to put more signage up just because the vehicles were traveling too fast. It was very unsafe. Based on him from being out there in that street every day directing traffic.
Do you recall why the caution light was removed from out there? That was a caution light there at one time, at that crossing.
On Triangle Mill?
No, not at Trey Mill, on 74. You don't know?
I'm not familiar with that. There's been yellow flashing lights out there ever since I've been with.
There's no caution light out there anymore. I'm talking about at that intersection.
Oh, the actual
Yes,
caution
uh-huh.
light. Oh, I'm not familiar with that.
Okay.
That would be DOT.
Mhm. Okay. How many accidents have we had dealing with the school safety that we have had while school is in session? You know what I mean? How many accidents have we had while school is in session out there?
Well, like I said, we haven't had any accidents since we started this program.
Okay.
None that's been reported that we're aware of.
Okay.
And I did make a statement in a previous meeting that I wasn't familiar that we'd ever had a child hit or anything out there, and that was incorrect. I did find out that we have had a child that was struck by a car at that crossing, and both of her legs were broken.
Okay. When was that?
Several years ago. I mean, it was before
I just thought you said that you don't recall any.
No. I'm talking about, I'm not familiar with any accidents occurring since we've started this program. And what I'm saying is I'm correcting a statement I made in a previous meeting that I think it was you that asked me, have we ever had, we haven't had any knowledge of any accidents out there. And I concurred with you at that time, said I'm not familiar with any accidents ever occurring up, referring to a child being hit or anything to that nature. And since then, I've found out that yes, we did have a child that was struck by a car out there many, many years ago.
Mm-hmm. Okay, if it's about school safety, why are we running the radar while school is in session? Why is it being ran?
We're running the program as the law permits us to run the program, and because there's students and people that come and go throughout the day to that school.
Okay, but the kid's safety is that if a kid get released from school, an adult would have to come and pick them up. Am I correct? Kids just don't walk off from the campus itself.
That would be a question for the school. I don't believe so, but go ahead.
it's
I can speak to that.
No.
There are children that walk to and from school every day,
I understand it.
if that was your question. Also,
But once they get in school, I'm sorry, but once they get in school, they can't be released unless a parent comes to get them.
that I couldn't answer, but I will say that there are times during the day, like the middle school cross-country team, they go out there and run, and they run around the
That's
perimeter.
after hours. That's after school hours. They
Yes,
practice
the
after school
system-
hours, when the system is shut down.
No, so it runs till 4 o'clock, and I see them out there right after the school
Well,
lets
that
out.
could be true. That could be.
And they run right along the edge of the curve of the road
Okay.
in the grass. I couldn't answer that as far as if the children are allowed to walk, the ones that walk to and from school. I don't know if they're allowed
No, they're not.
to leave during the day or not, if a parent has to.
But what we're enforcing is, during the day, is the normal speed limit that we can enforce 24/7, 365 days a year. If I choose to put an officer out there all the time, we could enforce what we're doing right now, and we're not doing anything different that we would be permitted whether school's in session or not. And we're not enforcing at any lesser speed or anything than what it would be permitted anytime we would normally enforce that. The difference is we're doing it with a camera versus doing it with a physical body.
Chief, let me ask you, I think you did a day in which you measured the speeding before we installed these. And if I remember correct, there was and it was measured, I think, all day long. And there was a huge number of,
Yes, I can answer specifically. May 15th of 2019, we conducted a study, a speed study with Red Speed, the company. They deployed a very the same technology on the highway where this technology is. What they deployed was run from 7 o'clock to 4 p.m., the same time that we run it now. On this particular day, now of course, there was no photo enforcement, there was no regular enforcement out there at this time. And I will note that the speed limit during 2 hours at that time was 25 miles an hour at the time, which has been changed to 30. It's actually been bumped up. But during that day, that particular day, there was 4,300 vehicles that traveled that stretch of highway, and 2,241 of them exceeded the speed limit.
When you say exceeded, you mean went over the 56 or just went over the 45?
That was over the 25 and over the 45. So they monitored it at 25 for those 2 hours, and then they monitored it at 45, which is the posted speed limit, during the rest of the remainder of the day, and there was over 2,241 violations out of the 4,300 cars that passed through there.
Chief, will you explain?
2,241.
Will you explain to me the enforcement times and speeds that are listed here?
Yes, I put together just a little informational sheet for you guys. At the very top of that, there's a little chart, and it explains the times and when they run. So the school zone time where the speed is reduced to 30 miles an hour is from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. We don't actually start validating or taking enforcement till 7:05. That request was made, and so we start at 7:05. So from 7:05 to 8 p.m., the speed limit is 30 miles an hour, and a citation is not triggered unless you're doing 41 or greater. So there.
Chief, you're saying 8 p.m.
It should be
It's
8
8 a.m.,
yeah.
is that correct?
Oh, am I? I'm
You
sorry.
said 8
Yes,
p.m.
thank you.
twice.
I'm sorry. I misspoke. Yes, it's 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. And I did, you know what? I see that. I have it wrong on my sheet. I apologize for that. You can correct that. That's 8 a.m. But we don't enforce it till 7:05. But at that time, during that hour, the speed limit is 30 miles an hour, and it's enforced at 41 is what triggers a citation. So anything over 41. From 8 a.m. to 3 p.m., the speed goes back to the normal posted speed limit, which is 45 miles per hour, and a citation is not triggered unless you're doing 56. And then from 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock p.m., it drops back to 3 p.m. or to 30 miles per hour, and again, 41 triggers a citation. And at 4 o'clock, we stop running the system. We do not run the system anymore after 4 o'clock every day. So those are the times, and those are the speeds which trigger things. Those times were established by the school system. That school zone time is established by the pickup and drop-off times. So just to confirm, coming to this meeting, I called and spoke to Ms. Gully. And Ms. Gully indicated to me that every day they have children, walkers and school riders, that arrive as early as 7:15, if not earlier, at that school, because they actually physically unlock the door at 7:15 and allow them to come into the building. And she said every day they're out there waiting. And school begins at 8 a.m. So they're supposed to be at school in their class by 8 a.m. So that's what triggers the 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. school zone time. The afternoon, they are dismissed at 3:10. At 3:10, they are dismissed, the kids are out, the walkers are released, and people are out. She said from 3:10 to about 3:40 is their heavy traffic time, but that's the main time for pickup and children being released. There again, you take the heart of it and you do 30 minutes before, 30 minutes after, which has been through the state of Georgia, through legislation for years and years on school crossing times, because anywhere you go, it's an hour. It's an hour during the pickup and drop off. And so that's what designated those times. School releases at 3:10. They're pretty much done by 3:45 or so, but so 3 to 4 is the school crossing time. And all those times were confirmed once again through Rhonda Gully at the school. Ms. Scully also expressed to me that she is greatly, and she said she doesn't mind me sharing this, that they are very appreciative of the program and what it does, and they hope to see that it doesn't go away, and that she's very appreciative of what it's doing out there. And she said on more than one occasion in her time out there at middle school, prior to this program, she had seen kids almost get hit by cars. And those are her words, and she said she would be glad to confirm those words.
Who is Miss Gully?
She's the principal at the middle school. She's the principal out there.
She's seen her almost get hit by a car with the crossing guard out there.
She said that there's been more than one occasion that she's witnessed kids almost get hit by cars as they attempt to cross the road.
Where are these yellow lights that are flashing?
They're as you enter the school zone on both ends of the highway. And they're actually 300.
They're about 200.
The yellow flashing signs are 300. I actually measured them earlier this week. They're 300 feet. From the time you pass the yellow flashing sign, it's another 300 feet before you get to the box where the camera's actually. So you're over 300 feet into the zone before you get picked up by the camera system.
So on Highway 74, is that what it is? There are lights flashing on that?
Yes,
on
yes,
that
ma'am.
highway?
Actually, when you come up, if you leave from the 5-way and you head out towards the school, just past, I believe it's Glendale, there's the first sign. There's a neon yellow sign that says school zone ahead. Big sign right there. You go another 300 or 400 feet, there's another sign, also neon green, that says photo enforcement ahead. Then you go another 300 or 400 feet and you get to the school zone sign that shows the 30-mile-an-hour speed limit. It says when flashing, and you've got the flashing yellow lights. And then it's another 300 feet past that before you actually get to the camera system. So it's actually 1,000 feet from the first sign till you get to the actual school zone sign, and then another 300 feet till you actually pass the camera system.
And Mike, what actually would your speed be taken? Do you have to, I mean, I've often wondered when I see those flashing lights, is it already reading?
No, that's what I'm saying. Your speed is not even going to be read until you have been in the zone for over 300 feet.
Yeah.
The camera is 300 feet past the school flashing. So when you're passing yellow, no, you're not. Your speed is not being detected. It's 300 feet further up is where it gets hit.
But it warned you once you get into the school zone about the radar being ran when the lights.
Yeah, there's a
flashing.
sign prior to you ever entering the zone. It
I'm
says
aware of
photo.
it. Right. But when do it warn you when school is in session that the radar is being ran? When did
Sign is the same.
The sign is the same. The
they
sign
don't have a
says
time
photo.
on it though? Like say for instance, like in the morning, you follow what I'm saying? It don't warn you at all, do it?
The sign just says school zone speed photo enforced.
Right.
It doesn't say anything about yellow lights flashing, doesn't say anything about times, it just says you're
Right.
in the
It's
school
just
zone.
So
saying-
when you think though
So
that
when you-
people would think
well,
that
the
it's
sign
only
is
flashing when
insinuating
school
when
is
you're
in pick up or drop off or
Well, the
whatever?
sign is insinuating when you're in the school zone that it's going to be photo enforced. And most everyone knows when school is and when school runs.
Well, that's like I said from the start. I don't have a problem with school safety or whatever, but I just feel like it's an entrapment once it's this session of school. I feel like that the camera should not be running when school is in session.
Well, what we're doing is we're just enforcing the speed limit, the normal speed limit
I understand,
during
I understand.
school while kids are there, which I will also note, and I put in here, there are eight separate businesses that enter and exit onto that stretch of highway.
Mhm.
From the Tasty Shop to Upson EMC,
I
to
wonder how
there's
many
an
been in that
Ironworks.
case.
But there's eight different roadways, like residential roads or businesses that enter and exit, cars enter and exit.
They do
on
that on
stretch
Rock
of
Street,
highway.
not just 74. They do
I
it on
understand, but
Rock
that's the reason for the 45-mile-an-hour speed limit is because it's a commercial area and you have traffic degressing, egressing in and out of that highway all the time. So that's why it's 45. We're just enforcing the normal speed limit. You can do 56 miles an hour in there before you get a ticket. If you're going over 56 miles an hour, you should get a ticket. And we're just using a camera to enforce it. We're just enforcing the normal speed limit at any time that we could enforce all year round.
I understand, but that's all about school safety, all right?
No, that would, Of course, the whole program's about school safety, and that's why it was enacted, but we're enforcing the normal speed limit.
I wish we could be honest to our citizens to let them know that it's an entrapment. It's what it is.
That's your opinion.
Yeah, it is. That's what it is.
But Jeff,
And
it's, I take
I'm
you
speaking right now, okay? I'm sorry. But what I'm saying is that we should take advantage of people like we doing. And it's not right. It's not right. But if you can live with that in your heart, then you
I
do it.
can,
But
Jeff,
I'm
because
just saying,
I'm enforcing the law. I'm doing what you guys hired me
you
to do.
enforcing something to make revenue for your department, chief, is what you're doing, okay? That's what you're doing.
So is this system, does it run every day until 4 PM and then that's it?
Yes, ma'am. It shuts off at 4 PM, and just like this summer when school's out in a few more weeks, the program will be shut down. The law actually says that we can run this camera system while summer school's going on. It permits it. We are not. We are choosing as an agency, I don't know what other agencies do, but we are not. We have we've already notified Red Speed to shut the system down come May, whatever the last day of school is, and we are not gonna run it this summer. We made the decision as an agency, if there's not enough school or children at school to warrant having a crossing guard in the highway, then we're not gonna run the system. So that's kind of our gauge. So during the normal school year, we have crossing guards out there. That's when we're gonna run the system. So we're not running it. And if it was totally based off just wanting to raise revenue, I would run it all summer during summer school, and we're not. But either way, we're enforcing the law, we're making that area safe, and I don't apologize for it, and I'm okay with it. I'm okay with
You
it.
said
There's no
over
different
50.
if I had my officers out there doing it.
Over 50% of the violators are not Thomaston residents.
Yes, ma'am. We did confirm that with Red Speed. Slightly over 50% of all the violators that come through are not Thomaston residents. They're people out of town or maybe adjoining communities or so forth, but they're not Thomaston residents. And I'll also add, I put a note in here. We've had just over 4,000 citations issued since the program started. Only 3% of those violators are repeat offenders. Only 3%. That tells us that we're modifying behavior. We're modifying the speed in that area, that we don't have a larger number of repeat offenders.
One thing I would say is it really began because, we had a comment about the crossing guard. He's saying it's going, the traffic is too fast. Then we measure it and we're finding out virtually 50% of the cars that come through there are going too fast. And Jeff, my opinion is to say it's an entrapment. An entrapment is something you do without people's knowledge for virtually really a dishonest purpose, and you're trying to trap them. Last night I was going to River Bend. I came around a corner and there sitting in front of me is a state patrol car. I wasn't speeding, but was that an entrapment? I didn't know that statement. Why didn't they tell me where these state patrolmen are going to be so I wouldn't get caught? But there they are. This system allows us to operate without having to use personnel there. We know we had a problem. We measured it. The problem was worse than it was. And I even, in the last couple of days, I've been out there and drove that section. I was not watching. I wanted to not look at my speedometer to see what I thought was a reasonable speed. I drove it, and I think the thing that we're having the discussion about is the non-rush hour traffic, the non-school traffic during the day. It was broad daylight. There is a lot of potential traffic out there with those businesses there, place to shop and those things like that. When I got up to a speed that I thought I'm a little high, I better check it. I looked down, I was between 45 and 50. To me, if you're driving 56, it's ridiculous. That is way above what would concern me. And I've been stopped for speeding before, so it's not like I'm a slowpoke driver or anything. It's ridiculous. If you're driving 56 in that zone during the day, you're going way too fast.
I will say,
Well, there's some other areas in Thompson that have the same speed limit. and you have the same speeders on other streets besides 74.
So are you?
And I respect what
Are
you're
you
saying. I
saying
know-
that's okay?
No, I'm not, no, by no means, no. But what I'm saying is though, is that the entrapment comes on 74 because you got a radar ran over here, but over here you don't.
Well, so would you suggest we run radar on all
Well, if you're gonna do it, you know, why here?
Because it's the school zone.
But the school, you understand it's the school
It's simple
zone.
because the law allows us to. We're not allowed to run photo enforcement in other areas. We're allowed to in the schools.
I understand what you're saying, that's true. But my thing is though, is that I don't have that problem on drop off and pickup. My problem is when school is in session. And, you know, you got speeders right now on 19.
And we write speeding tickets on 19.
I understand.
We
But-
wrote a bunch this weekend.
But you don't have a camera taking pictures right and do tickets for you.
So,
I would add to what Councilman Head said is, I'm the one that reviews all of them. And I can't give you the absolute statistical information, but I can say roughly, the number, the speed of the vehicles between 8 PM and 3 PM when it's 45 and the lights are not flashing, roughly about half the vehicles are running more than 60 miles an hour.
That's ridiculous.
And we've had vehicles as high as 82 miles
See,
an hour.
I'll be honest with you, the time when I felt like I better be paying attention to what I'm doing, I was in the 50 zone. I'm speeding already, but not at the point, I'm thinking if you're going 56, that's what I would think, 60 miles an hour in a rural area, not in a school zone, not even in a business thing. But again, I want to touch base, Jeff, on what he said. He's had 4,000 citations issued. Only 3% are repeat violators. That says what we're trying to do is slow down traffic in a school area. That says that it's working.
Okay, well, that's your opinion.
Chief, you said there are 3 signs posted before you pass the camera. Is
Yes.
that coming from both directions?
Yes, ma'am. It's the same on both ends. And when you do radar enforcement, the law, and Sydney's up on it more than I am, but the law only requires that we're visible from 300 feet. We got 3 signs, flashing lights, and we're over 1,300 feet before you ever enter the enforcement. We're doing, and the law was written, and we go above and beyond what is required for a normal radar operation. I can park a car on the side of the road as long as you can see me from 300 feet. I don't have to tell you that I'm there. I don't have to put any signs out. I don't have to do any of that, and I can run radar all day long and write tickets. And if I send an officer out there to do it, it's going to cost them, our citizens, about $147 a ticket and 3 points on their license.
And we're repeatedly warning with the signs, slow down, you're in a monitored zone. I mean, so we've warned them, and we warn them from both sides.
But this ain't just started though, guys. This here, the camera was just started, but this highway been built. They've been traveling up and down this highway, okay? And the speeders been speeding up and down the highway. I've had, before they even put this radar over there, I've have seen police officers running radar at Carter, OEM Carter Company, which is fine. But this here just hadn't started. They've been driving this highway, okay? But now, all of a sudden, it's all about the safety of the school so that we can get some revenue here for our police department, which is wrong. It's totally
No,
wrong.
it's not about the
That's what it boiled down to, Doug.
Did we not say that?
That's what it boiled down to. I got the statistics right here. You would have made over $30,000 that went to this police department. And what they have done with this $30,000 has bought the toys with what they want. Okay, and let me finish, and then you can talk, okay? But what it is that we have taser what's wrong with the tasers that we had? What's wrong with them?
They're dated.
They don't work. They don't work.
You want me to speak?
Yeah.
They're
You can.
approximately half of them, the screen, it has a digital screen on it that tells you the status of the weapon, the status of the cartridges. About half of the weapons we have, the screens are out. They cannot be repaired. They're long since been out of warranty, which creates a liability issue with Taser. They're old and outdated and should have been replaced a long time ago. But I mean, it's hard to come to council and say, hey, we need $80,000 to buy some tasers when we have other competing priorities. I would like to say though, as far as this whole thing about generating revenue is everything the police department does as far as enforcement generates revenue. I mean, if we charge you with
It's not entrapment though.
if we charge you with a DUI, you're gonna pay a fine.
Yeah, I
If we
understand.
charge you or run a stop sign, you're gonna pay a fine.
You should.
There's
That's
two
right.
ways
That's
to
right.
enforce the law. You either fine somebody
But you're not setting up a trap,
or you put them in jail,
Nate. You're not setting up
or
a
you do
trap.
both.
You're not setting up a trap.
If I may.
That was.
There's no,
There's no
Go
trap
ahead,
to
go
it,
ahead,
please.
do that, have
All right,
it.
hang on. All right, so, right.
Jeff, your opinion is your opinion. If that's want to be your opinion, I respect it. I may not agree with it, but I
Right.
respect your
I'm
opinion.
saying. Mhm.
But we keep using the word trap. I looked up Webster's Dictionary of trap just so I'm making sure that I'm understanding it correctly.
Mhm.
And basically, the definition of a trap is, I'm not going to quote it verbatim, but doing something in deceitful or hidden in order to surprise somebody with something.
Exactly.
So when they've got that level of signage on both sides, I'm trying to see it from your perspective to say, okay, is this a trap? And if so, how? But I can't wrap my head around.
The reason I
Help.
said-
Let
the
me
reason
finish. Can I finish?
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
That's all right. So with that, given the level of signage, given everything that was done before this program was put into place, I guess help me understand how it is, how this is done in a hidden manner, deceitfully, and be able to spring this on somebody and surprise them and say, "Hi, I got you in your trap. You're in my web now."
Mhm.
So
I'll
help me with that,
explain that to you, okay?
please.
All right. When pick up, doing drop off in the morning, when the camera, when the speed limit goes up, okay? There's no sign saying that speed limit is 55 and we have cameras on the wall, radar's running, right?
It does say photo enforced. And
Okay,
it does
photo
say school
enforced,
zone.
right, okay, well, what you gonna think then though is that in the morning, you're gonna slow down because there's school traffic, the light is flashing, okay? But the
Mhm.
light is not flashing when school is in session. You don't have no type of warning.
But the sign also doesn't say photo enforced only during.
No, it don't
When
say
lights
that
flash.
either, but it don't have if I was driving down the road, I would think, okay, I'm in the
But
school
all we're
zone.
doing is enforcing the normal speed limit,
I
Yeah.
think the line
which I can do
said-
with a person.
Yeah.
So if I was doing it with a person, would you be here saying this to me? If I had a person out there every day, an officer physically doing
Well,
this,
you have done it.
would we be
You
having
have
this
done it every day,
discussion?
but you have put some, you have.
I
put
know
one
we
out there.
have, and we could,
I think
we could put
I
officers
think I'd
all over
rather
the
see
city.
that, I'd rather see that instead of having a hidden camera somewhere and
It's
trying to
not
catch
hidden.
it.
It's not hidden.
There's nothing
Well,
hidden and secret
You're
about
told about it, and I think it clearly says on the sign, the flashlights flashing during the school period. Is that what it
Yeah,
says?
it's during the school crossing time.
Doing a
School
school crossing time,
school
that's it,
crossing.
right, that's my point.
Jeff, I'll tell you, if you go out there and run 56 miles an hour, you will think, I don't need to be running this fast.
I'm not
And
saying
we've
that.
got a
You're
problem,
right. I
Jeff.
agree.
It's
I
not
agree.
a trap. It's not a trap. We got a problem that was called to our attention by this crossing guard. Then we measured to verify we got a problem. We had a problem. So we did this, and I think that it's justified. I would make the motion to continue the contract. And Jeff, you've got 4,000 citations and 3% repeat of, it's accomplishing its purpose.
I understand that, Doug, but what I'm saying though is that it's a good thing. Yeah, I'm all about school safety, but I'm not about it when school is in session. That's my point.
Well, why not? It's slowing people down in an area.
But all of a sudden, we want to slow them down now because we can bring revenue in here?
I could bring revenue in if I was sitting an officer out there.
Well, you did it beforehand.
Actually, we would
You
bring
did-
in more revenue.
You did it beforehand.
We would bring more revenue in.
Well, you did it beforehand, though,
But-
Chief. That's my point.
No.
You did it beforehand.
Isn't that a more costly alternative to the citizenry, though, is to have this versus hiring a new officer
Well,
dedicated
you
just
didn't
to?
have to hire officers because they already had officers on duty that was doing this.
But that's
But it's taking time away from we're on a very already thin staff to do that.
to place,
And-
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
To put enough officers out there to be effective as this device is, we would need 10 full-time officers, because here's the problem. Every single vehicle that comes by, it clocks. When we put an officer out there, they can only clock one vehicle at a time. When a speeder comes by, they're tied up for 15 minutes, writing that individual a ticket or giving them a warning, and all the cars during that 15 minutes, they're continuing to speed. The other problem is, once you go out there and set up, within 15 minutes, they've got you flagged on Google Maps. So everybody who's got Google Maps up, there's a speed trap on there, and every car that comes by that passes, as they go down the road, they're sitting there flashing their lights. You can go out there and you can set up an officer for about 10 or 15 minutes and it works, and after that, the speeding stops. But the problem is, as soon as that officer leaves, the speeding goes right back.
One thing I want to say too, in defense of some conversation we've had, a taser is not a toy. A taser is a non-lethal alternative to a gun.
I guess I'll be more
So
sarcastic.
we need to make, well, it's certainly not something to be sarcastic about, because a taser is a way to prevent having to use a lethal weapon on somebody and to try to de-escalate a situation. And if we pay for it for this revenue, then that's revenue that is.
In light of the atmosphere in our nation,
Mhm.
and with the social justice reforms and things that are trying to take place, that I'm in agreement with a lot of the things that are going on. I absolutely want to put the absolute best equipment in my officers' hands for them to be as safe as possible. And a taser is the most effective tool that we have to keep us from having deadly confrontations. Actually, about 70% of the, I don't know exact number, but a vast majority of the time an officer pulls a taser, just the light that comes on with it alone de-escalates the situation and you never have to use it. I don't want antiquated or dated equipment in our officers' hands. And if Red Speed program gives me the ability to put the most recent and most effective, best equipment in our officers' hands so we don't have a deadly force situation, then that's what I'm about. And I'll do it. And I would hope that all of you would want us to have the best equipment. And this is a program that is allowing us, yes, it generates revenue that allows us to do these kind of things, that the only other way to do that is for you all to do tax increases to raise the budget so our budget can do that. And if you all want to do that, I'm fine with it. And if you want to be able to, every time we try to or upgrade our equipment or get equipment, want to do those kind of things, I'm fine with that. But this is a program that allows us to keep the most effective, best equipment in the hands of our officers that I certainly don't consider a toy.
I talked to Mr. Thompson this morning, and I was told that the amount from when we started this program up until today, the city has $56,403.
I'm assuming that would be correct. I don't.
Okay, well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I got the information from Mr. Thompson.
And actually, we haven't spent a dime on any of that money as of yet.
Okay, but we are buying cameras. Weren't we purchasing the cameras with
Yes, ma'am.
it, right? And was that a one-time payment for these cameras? That
No, that's
$25,000?
that's an annual cost for those cameras. It's $2,500 per camera per year.
$2,500 per camera per year. So,
Which
Call it 25 grand.
yes, $25,000 a year.
right, a year, $25,000 a year for that. Now, the tasers, we paid so much, or we're to pay so much, and when we purchase, are we purchasing them all at that one
It's
time?
a
No.
5-year contract or a 60-month term. The first year, I believe, was $9,300. And then I think it escalated to
17.5 or something
for
like
the
that a
balance
year.
of the 4 years. So
You can pay it all if you want to up front, but they don't. There's no interest or anything. They just break it over.
Then
5 years.
hopefully, since, we're looking at this and we're saying we have only a 3% repeat, hopefully that'll get to the point where we don't have any repeats. then how are we gonna pay for this, equipment and stuff? It have to come from our regular budget?
Well, I guess if we get to that point, keep in mind that over 50% of your violators are out-of-town people. But, yeah, I guess if we got to that point, then, yeah, I would have to come to the city and say, we need to add this to our budget.
And it could always be reconsidered. All right, y'all, so we're 40 minutes into this, and we've got a lot of information out there, and is there anybody else that's got questions? Don, I know you had.
I would like to state one other thing about a program like this, and back to the atmosphere and what's going on in our nation. 100% of the incidents that have gone wrong, that have caused so many problems in our nation in the last 5 years, have started with interaction between an officer and a citizen, where they've had physical contact. And most of those interactions, or a lot of those interactions, have started in traffic stops. This program allows us to enforce the traffic, and they don't have to have any action with an officer. So there is no conflict. There is no one at the window saying, I don't want to give you my license. I don't want to do this or that. There is no officer up there being rude if it is an officer that likes to be rude. It cuts that out. It allows us to enforce the law without having to have those contacts, which often lead to those kind of situations. And most of those situations, they're bad apples and bad situations, but programs like this lessen that contact, lessen that one individual, because it may be just that one person that comes through that decides they're not going to be compliant whatsoever. And then the next thing you know, they're engaged in a physical altercation on the side of the road. So programs like this allow us to avoid some of that.
Just so everybody's clear, our contract with Red Speed allows us each year to decide. You have to give 60 days notice at least before the term ends. So every year, you can come back and decide.
Let me just say one thing. State law regulates speed in this state. Two-lane highways is normally 55 miles an hour. Congested zones is 45 miles an hour. These are regulated by the state. And then we got school zones that's reduced even further. The empirical data has shown, a month or two before we started enacting these camera fines, of the issue we had, the problems we have crossing guards who have issued complaints because of the speed of the traffic in there. We're just trying to modify the behavior of the citizens for the safety of everyone. You know, to be traveling in any congested zone over 55 miles an hour is not only dangerous, it's illegal. If the minimum speed limit to enforce a fine is 56 miles an hour, you know, what's the real issue here? Is it the caught and the uncaught? Well, the camera, you know, it has no opinion. The camera just reads what it's scientifically set up to read. So, you know,
Along with what Don is saying, I will say, and Sydney will correct me if I'm wrong, state law says that in a school zone, I can enforce the speed limit at 1 mile an hour over.
right.
State law also says that we're supposed to give 10 miles an hour in any other area, but in a school zone, a designated school zone, anytime that school's in session, even through the day, we can write a ticket for 1 mile an hour over. If this was truly a money grab, I'd set that camera at 2 mile an hour over, and we
Well, it's
wear
still
them
could be
out.
a money
And we
grab,
don't.
chief. It just ain't set at 1 mile, okay? I just wanna make sure you know that.
But I'm
It could be a
saying,
money grab.
we can enforce that by 1 mile an hour over, and we
Okay.
don't. We
And
don't.
Jeff, I want to simply say, that's your opinion. I don't want people to think that,
Right.
because it's not my opinion.
Right, well, it's mine though. I'm gonna
That's-
speak my opinion.
Well, let me make a motion that we maintain the school zone enforcement as is at this point in time.
With the reds, continue the red speed.
Continue the way it is.
That's what, all right, I'll second that motion.
Call for a vote?
Yeah, we can call for that, I'm sorry.
Councilmember Greathouse.
Aye.
Councilmember Middlebrooks.
No.
Councilmember Tucker.
Yes.
Councilmember Reeves.
Because of the fact there are warning signals prior to you coming to this point. I mean, and it seems as though, I mean, there's several warnings, so I have to say yes.
And Councilmember Head.
Yes. All right, so, is there any other business?
Just as a point of note, we have received a request from the U.S. Department of Agriculture as part of our funding for the sewer project to start a program to collect data, not only on employees, but utility customers, which would include sex, race, and sexual preference. So if you see that as part of our application for utility bills, just want you to know that's what that's about. We're gonna put a asterisk on there, you know, it's a voluntary survey and it's being requested by a federal agency, so if you get hit up.
What's that got to do with the utility bills?
They're requiring it.
Who's the person?
USDA.
USDA. All right.
That's when
Okay.
we get money for grant, we get money from them, don't we?
Yes.
Grants.
All right. Are there any other business? If not, do we hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. All those in favor, rise.
Aye.
Right.